Yes,
Sure.
Rayan, you are
Okay.
audible.
So can you guys respond in the chat if you were away from the meet? Can you guys bring back your attention to this meet, please? All right, we'll be starting with the second pathway for this Gen AI camping. So, wait, give me a second. Can you guys make sure कि you have opened this link that Alim sent in the group? Can all of you make sure कि आप लोग वो link खोल लिए जो group में send किया गया है? So that we are on the same page. ठीक है. Talha says क्या? Hello. Hello. Yeah. So I'm back. I'm sorry there is some kind of internet fluctuation over my place. So if you've heard this, you can guess what Gemini is and what an API is. First of all, let me tell you what Gemini is. Gemini is the Google's generative AI model. What it can do is it can generate you text responses or image responses based on text or image data. Okay? Now, let me explain what an API is. An API is an application programming interface, which means it is a way to talk with this model. The Gemini model, it is hosted somewhere in somebody else's computer over in the cloud servers, right? An API allows developers or people like us to talk with the Gemini model. Now there are several ways to talk with the model, and in this lab we'll be going over this curl method. The curl method, if you've heard of this is a very standard way or very basic way of requesting any API. Okay? Basically, what this does is when you open your terminal, right? Suppose this is my terminal. I'll write some command in my terminal. First of all, let me confirm if you guys can hear me. If you guys can hear me, can you please respond in the chat? Okay, Abdullah Sharif says yes. Okay, Talib says yes. All right. So what a curl request is basically, it is a type of request that the terminal sends over to an API. Okay. Now, how can you send this curl request? We'll look in this lab. But this is one way of talking to an API. Okay. Now, one of the most common ways that developers use today is something called Postman. Let me not overwhelm you with this. So please bear with me. Now this is another application developed by Postman. It is also called Postman. Okay, you can Google it yourself or learn about it more on their own website and figure out कि करता कैसे. But basically, what we are trying to do is we are trying to request the packet through this interface. This is another way of requesting an API. Now, at this point, if you're a really beginner, you might have some doubts ki what is an API and what is backend, what are all these terms that I've been talking about. Okay. So for such beginners, I will be explaining what these terms are from the scratch. For example, whenever you open your website, right? Whenever you open your website, uh, you have, suppose this is your mobile or your PC. Okay, whatever this is the end device that a user has. Okay. And now this end device, it has something, it has usually when you open your website, right, it runs in the browser environment. Okay. Uh, what what is a browser? A browser is this window that you're seeing in this mid, right? A browser is something that is able to execute JavaScript code. Basically, that is something that is a browser. Okay. Now, whenever this browser, now this browser is actually it is actually smart. So what it does a lot of the heavy lifting for you to access an API or any website that you're trying to access. Okay. See, look at this. What you're seeing up here is this URL. Okay. This is called a URL. Basically, what a URL is it is an address in the global entire internet. Okay. Okay, I'll explain you things from scratch. Suppose कि this is an internet model where things are connected in a network, right? An internet is a large network, right? So what you do is what the internet does is it assigns some sort of address to all of these endpoints. Okay? And if this device wants to go over and request something to this device, what it needs is certain things to access this device. For example, it may need its address, it may need its port address. So there are 2-3 things that we need to access something over a network. Okay? And this URL corresponds this URL corresponds to the address. Now, if you have ever IP addresses and port addresses, you will tell me कि I am wrong. And
Ryan.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but थोड़ा background noise आ रहा है आपके से.
Okay, let me just clear that up. Yeah, is it clear now?
Yes, crystal clear.
Okay, so what I was talking about is this URL thing. This URL thing is very important whenever you have to hit anything on the internet, right? Suppose you're trying to access this address, this machine from your network. Suppose this is you, and you're trying to access a resource, something over this uh, location. So what you will do is you need this URL. Okay, now I'll show you this. Why is URL an important thing? As you can see, don't get overwhelmed. Just look at this. This is the same URL that I've pasted here, right? Okay. So what this URL is basically, it is an address to access a resource. Okay. Now it is made up of some several parts, right? It says key 127.0.0 like this long chain of string, and then you have this other readable text. होता क्या बोले तो whenever you type in this URL, say you're typing in a human readable URL, it goes over to the internet provider, and then they have something called the DNS. Okay? They have something called the DNS, and they take this human readable text, some sort of string, and they convert it into an IP address that is something like this 192.2 something like this. They'll convert this into this, and then they'll route this request, your request, from your end device, PC or mobile, over to this this endpoint. Okay? So now your browser requests to the goes to the DNS. It resolves it into some IP, and that connects to some other location. Okay. Now, because this port is open, like anybody can send any amount of requests, right? So for this not to happen, we have something called APIs. Now there are several popular architectures of APIs. By architecture, I mean a certain kind of ways through which you can access data. For example, a very popular is RESTful API. Okay? And another popular type of API is GraphQL API. I'm not sure. Yeah. So there are several architectures. What an architecture is basically how an API is built. Okay? Now we'll soon see what are the differences between these. Basically, RESTful API means it allows uh, it only allows it will only recognize several requests, several type of requests. जैसा कि put request, get request, post request. These are only standard kinds of requests that this API will accept. Okay? That is the difference between this RESTful API and GraphQL API. There are other requests as well. Now, why do we have only these? Because as I explained before, whenever an endpoint is exposed, people can hit it up with random sets of data. So for this API to make sense key what is going on, it will only accept these kinds of requests. Okay, coming back, I think we were drifted off a lot. Okay, now you see there are as I mentioned, there is this browser and it is sending up these requests. Now, one popular way of sending requests is by writing JavaScript code. This is very popular on the internet. Whatever website or app that you see is built by JavaScript code. So most of the times you have something called a fetch API. Now this will do the requesting thing to the API. Okay? Now there are other languages also. Now you might ask, what if my application is in Python? How can I do this same API call? There will be some other API inside Python that you can use to hit up the backend. Similarly, in other programming languages, there will be some other methods that you can use to do this request to the backend. Okay? Now I'll be starting this lab. Okay, before starting, I'll give you some tip. Whenever you have a lab to complete, right, there are two ways of completing this lab. The first way is you can go over this and you can speed run all of this, and you can basically try to learn as quickly as possible while not going too deep into it. Just understanding these commands. Okay, you have to open this and कि ये command में ये चल रहा and यहाँ पे ये कर सकते. And the other way is diving deep and understanding what each line does. Okay. Now, the first approach, it is quick, obviously, and one of the best ways that you can do is you can open up YouTube and you can search the name of this lab. What is the name of this lab? Okay, you can just directly search over and complete this lab within like 4 to 5 minutes. This is a quick approach. Alternatively, you can come over and try to read through all of this and understand. I would highly recommend doing the second approach after you finish the first approach, because we obviously have to complete all of these labs and also understand what this is trying to do. So I'll quickly start over. Okay, so seems like I lost pace. Anyways, we are starting the lab now, guys. If you're on this page, type in start so that we start this lab together. Okay, Satvik says start. Hafsa says start. So I'm assuming some of you are AFK, so let me move ahead. Mudassar. Okay, so there are pretty folks that are following along. Okay, I'll start this lab. What I'll do is I'll open it in a new private window. Now I've explained earlier key. Okay, but something was open. I'll open it again in a private window. I've explained earlier ऐसा क्यों करते because it won't mess up your local data, right? तो मैं यहाँ से password copy. I'll do these basic tasks. आप लोग भी follow along and come like log in. ठीक है. Now I've signed in successfully. किसी को are we just starting the lab or did I miss it? Yeah, we are just starting the lab. Usman bin Nasir. You can follow along. अभी से. Okay, Karishma sister. So if you guys have started the lab, you can just say we've started. Just open your mic or just type in something. So I'll be going over what the first task is. It says ki open your notebook in Vertex AI Workbench. Now we have also discussed in the earlier class ki what is Vertex AI Workbench and why we have to use this whenever we are developing any artificial intelligence application or anything related to ML workflows or anything like that. Anyways, so I'll quickly open this Vertex. Okay, first let me see ki you guys are on par with me. Okay, I'll just quickly open this Vertex AI Workbench and I'll show you how to do it. Follow along as I do this. Okay, I come over to this dashboard and I try to find Vertex AI. Okay, this is my Vertex AI panel. यहाँ पे I'll go over to this dashboard. Yeah, what I did was I just clicked on this Vertex AI and then I clicked on dashboard. Right. I'll just enable this recommended APIs for any like whatever issues that might occur, might not occur sometimes. I'll just open this recommended APIs. Okay. And then we have to go over to this generative AI lab notebook. Are you guys following along? Yeah, I went into this workbench section. I clicked on user managed notebooks. Where here I could see open Jupyter Lamb option. I quickly click on this and this launched another window. Now this window might load and it might take them some time to load based on your internet connection. So please be patient. Okay, I am in my Jupyter Lab environment. Now I'll open this generative AI. And inside of that, I'll go into Gemini. Okay, what did I say? Go into the generative AI folder and then navigate into the Gemini and then getting started folder. Okay, I found my getting started folder and I'm going in. And here All right. Getting started. Okay, am I doing it correctly? So okay, I am already inside the generative AI folder. I'll go into Gemini, and I have this getting started. Okay, so I have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Intro to Gemini. I'll quickly open this up. Okay. So I open this intro to Gemini curl file. Okay, this was the trickiest part of this section. So wait, I'll just close the other file that I opened. This one. Okay, so open this intro to Gemini curl wali file. There are a lot of confusing files out here, so please be careful and open this intro to Gemini curl wali file only. Okay, now the steps are the same. You just have to read through this and run all of these steps in order as they're displayed. Okay, so I'll be checking first whether you guys are here. Okay, did you open this? Yeah, you are supposed to enable that API. For yes, no, you are supposed to click on that enable recommended APIs. Okay, are you guys in the same folder, in the same file that I opened just now? Yes, continue. Okay, so most of you are saying. Okay, I opened this. I'll quickly go over what they're trying to say. Okay, so there are two Gemini Pro models that Google offer you. The first one is Gemini Pro model, and the second one is Gemini Pro Vision model. The first one is basically text model, and the second one is text plus image model. So you can upload images and get a text response. As it says, multi-model model that supports adding image and video in text or chat prompts. Okay, and the first one is just like language and NLP tasks. It does basically what ChatGPT does, and the second one is basically like ChatGPT Pro. Okay, so let's skip over all of this and go over to this first section. Okay, make sure you run this. So there were no other sections, so I just ran this first wala directly. You can also run this. For some reason there is this cell, but I won't disturb it. Okay, I'll just. Okay, now यहाँ पे you have to make this edit. Most of you are have this issue. So I think यहाँ पे बहुत सारे लोगों को they're just copying in and while pasting it inside of these brackets, but you have to remove these brackets as well because this thing is a string and you have to paste your ID inside of this quotations. If you don't paste this correctly, आगे whatever commands that you run, यहाँ पे तो it won't display any issue. Whatever commands that you run down this cell, there will be issues in those commands. So make sure कि पहले यहाँ पे you fix the first वाला while you're doing it. ठीक है, I'll quickly copy over my project ID. Not here's the name, project ID. Just copy this. I pasted it here. Okay. Now I saved it, and then I ran the cell. It won't display me any error message even if it is wrong. Just make sure that you're copying it over. यहाँ पे location का I'm just keeping it as it is because the lab did not mention anything about the location. Okay, now I am importing these import os dot all of these I am importing. Okay, so what this import does is whatever this the cell that you're running, right? The whole IPYNB file that you're running, this runs on some virtual environment, right? It is not running on your own computer. This is one difference that you have to identify, right? So wherever this script is running, it is trying to access the operating system of that virtual computer, right? It is trying to access the environment variables. Whenever you're working in any kind of environment, you have some environment variables. Yeah, and those environment variables are generally saved in a .env file or some other file for some other languages. Whatever these files are, these are accessed through these lines of code. Okay, and now as you can see, okay, I've run this line as well. What are we trying to import? Let us see. We are trying to import this project ID and the location. The location is here, and the API endpoint. Okay, so I'm assuming this API endpoint is somewhere hard coded. I'm not able to see it right now, but yeah, this is the API endpoint that I talked about earlier. The URL that we just talked in the earlier sections. Okay, and now the Gemini 1 Pro model. So we'll be running our curl command over this Gemini 1 version, which only accepts text input. Okay, now this is the format that the curl request accepts. There you go. It says key percentage bash. I'll assume this is some bash script, so that is why it is mentioned bash here. Bash is again a script. It is a shell script language. I may be wrong, but it is a scripting language. Basically, what you write in your terminal, it is called this bash. For Windows, it is PowerShell. I think for Ubuntu or some other environments, it may be bash. Okay? Now in that bash script, I declared this variable called model ID. Okay? This model ID, why am I declaring it here? Obviously, for me to use it again. Okay? As you can see, I am using it here inside of this pull request. Okay? You can understand what this curl request does just by trying to break down this structure. Okay? It has the curl, it is the keyword that will do the curl request, and it has some -x. Now you might ask, what is a -x? I'm not even sure. You can also Google, but I'm pretty sure this is some kind of flag that you put in. Whatever command that you have, it has some certain flags that you can put in to enable some optional functionality. So I'm assuming this -x does does enable some functionality. I think I might be wrong, but okay. It has this post command. Now I just mentioned I just talked about the API thing, and it has some 2 to 5 types of requests that it can accept. For example, get, post, uh, whatever, patch, delete. So if you're trying to do a post request, you type in post here. If you're trying to do a get request, you change this particular section. Okay. Now, okay, let me not time deep. I'll just talk about what this does. Okay. Now this is the endpoint. Basically, you have to memorize all of this, the curl command. Now you might ask, why do you have to memorize this? Because this is the format that the inventors of the curl have mentioned. And the advantage is, whenever you memorize this, you can type in this exact same curl command from any of the bash script environments. Suppose you have some terminal at your hand, you can type in this curl request and it will work. Okay, not only for this environment. So I'll just run this. Okay, so it sent over some request and then it got back a response, and that response is being displayed as this section here. Okay, now this response might be in a lot of formats, and one of the common formats that APIs talk in is JSON format. Now what this is, it is called JavaScript object notation. What this is basically, it is if you are aware of these objects, what are objects in programming? Basically, it is another kind of object that you can also construct at your own side, or the API will send you the same kind of format. So it is sending back an array of these objects, of these little objects that you can try to understand. Now, see, it says candidates, content, role. These are basically some, I think this is some, okay, this is some format that all of this query is following. So now you might ask, okay, Ryan, why are you showing me all of this? Why do I have to go through the struggle of learning all of this? One easy use case that I can think of on the fly is whenever, suppose this curl command is inside of your own application. Suppose you wrote a Python program where you're taking in user input and then you're putting in, you're changing these variables, you're changing this text here. Okay, you're changing this text to your own custom query. So you can play around with this and build up your own chatbot using these exact same commands. Okay, and you'll get back the same response as is shown here. And then you'll have to destructure this. Suppose you want the response that this model generated, right? It will not generate only a string of characters. It will generate this JSON object that you'll have to destructure in your own application, and then you have to display it to the users, because obviously users, they cannot see this, they cannot read this JSON object, right? So that was the reason that you are familiar with this, you for this structure, because it'll help you destructure whatever data that you're trying to pull out from this API request. Yeah, it says some safety ratings and all of this stuff. I'm not really interested in reading all of this. So I'll just quickly go over to the next command. Now, if you've done this first, if you've done the previous one, this will again look familiar to you. You have this curl, you have this post. So we are sending a post request, and we again have this model ID here that we are trying to mention. Suppose I wanted to talk to the second version of the Gemini. I can just easily switch over this model ID and keep the same post request. Based on that, I don't have to change this post request again and again, right? I'll just quickly run this second curl command. Okay. But okay, so this ran successfully. It says it gave me some statistics as well. It says average deload, speed upload, total time taken, time spent, current speed. Okay, so whenever you're building your own application, you try to optimize this in your application. Basically, like these these whatever this time it is taking, it is for sending the request and processing of that request and sending back the response. So whenever you're trying to build it, you try to make it as easy as possible. And meanwhile, while this application loads or while the time is running, you can also put up some loading animations or something on your front end. Okay, let me do this checkpoint and come back and check whether you guys are able to run this. Okay, it is showing error while putting project ID. Okay, I mentioned Abdullah ki it has to be in string format. Okay, no issues. It says there was also a location given. I did not do it. You can update it. Fixed it. I did not read over the location. You can do it yourself. There might be some. Okay, it is showing an error in the first percentage. Okay, what is the error, Naman? One common error could be bad range in URL position 60. So you might have to look at what changes did you do apart from this. Okay. Authorization. Okay, there might be some instances where you run into this. Okay, you can first of all check you're in a in an incognito window and not on your normal window. Yeah, it says it has some authorization errors. Might be because you opened the lab inside of your normal window. And the other one, okay, bad range in URL position 60. I'm not sure what this is. Can you just try Googling what this error does or why this occurs? All right, go over to the steps that I did again. I think you did not. There might be some issues. Just try rerunning the steps as I did in the same order. Maybe there is some issue. You did not run the request, or maybe कि internet का कुछ fault होगा sometimes. I'm not sure. ठीक है. Apart from these people, can any like can others run their queries successfully? या फिर कुछ issues आ रहे हैं आप लोग? Yeah, you can just close the lab and restart the lab again. Also, don't mess up anything in the pre-written code, because उससे भी, if there is any syntax error in this, it'll throw you some error. Maybe you try to edit this project ID and you edit something else. It is not showing tag mark on function call. While checking my progress through, I have done. Okay, देखो, whenever you run complete all of these tests, right, it will take some time to update. Like it will take 2 to 3 minutes usually, depending on your internet connection or depending on their servers. Then it will show you. Okay, see, I'm doing this very slowly, so that is why it is auto updating here. So yeah, I just. Okay, so there was a difference in first two prompts. The first one was a single text prompt. The second one was a multi-turn conversation. Okay, I did not run this. Okay. It will take some time, Abdullah. Just wait for some time. Okay, so let me get back to this. I'll continue running over these commands and explaining what this does. Okay, supports natural multi-turn conversations that require back and forth interactions. So you see, the first types of tasks, the first types of requests were only single headed, like one-sided conversations. The second one are multi-turn conversations. Okay. So to specify what user is talking, you have this another role field introduced inside of this, inside of the structure of this call command. Okay. If you compare, you did not have this role in, or you only had one user, I'm assuming, in the previous call command. Let me go over and check it quickly. Okay, so there was only one role here, but in this section we have two roles. We have, okay, role user, role model. Okay. Now these are, okay, these are some predefined user model. Why are these predefined? Because it'll help the model understand what it has responded back in the previous query. Right? It has to keep track of the history of its own conversation as well. That is why it has some predefined variables here. Suppose you're trying to run this into your application, okay? And if you've typed in user with an incorrect space, if you just read it with an uppercase user, it might throw you some error. So you just have to be careful whenever you're writing some API calls and whatever. You just have to be careful of the structure of this and the variables that the API uses, because it is very sensitive and it can lead to a lot of errors. So that is why I'm saying you should not modify any of these cells. Just keep running them in order. Maybe if you modify any of these or accidentally press back or accidentally delete one of these things, it might throw you some error. Okay, I'll slowly run this. It is executing. Okay, and it has stopped execution. Okay, it gave me some. Okay, it has this candidates option inside of which it has an array. Okay, this was a text I'm assuming that we gave here. Okay, text hello. Text hello. I'm glad you put it. So the wait, we gave it some. We gave it a request and it responded with the continuation of this conversation. Okay, you can read over this. I'm not going to do it. And try to extract this information and display it in your own generative application. Okay, function calling lets you create a description of a function in their code. Let them pass description. Okay, so this is another feature of this Gemini model. It will also let you call a function from inside of this request. Okay, wait. So it has another parameter here called function declarations, inside of which what it's trying to do is several function declarations are included in this request. Okay. So find movies and find theaters. So it is saying there are two functions that are declared here. That, as you can see, these functions also have a specific format. For example, they have this name, they have this description, they have these parameters. So they have these specific format that has to be followed if you're trying to parse in a function inside of this API. Right? You might write this function in your own programming language just some other way, but in this API, it has to be destructured into this format that this API listens to. I think I'll just quickly run over this. Wait, let me check what you guys have. So Abdullah's lab is done. Cool. Okay, now this ran successfully. I'll just go over to the next section. Okay, up till now, we only ran the text version of this model. From now on, we'll be looking over how you can make curl commands in this vision model. Okay, okay, it says download an image from the Google Cloud storage. Okay, so this is a command to download a storage or download an image from this given path. Now I can go over the details of what this is. Again, see, this GS util is I think it is a specific to this Google Cloud SDK. It is a command run by recognized by the Google Cloud SDK. What this does is it copies over this image from this location and it places it in this specific location. Okay. So if I run over this, it will copy over this successfully from some remote location from some other cloud bucket into our desired destination. Okay. It says operation complete. Now, what we are trying to do is we are trying to send this image inside of our API call. Okay. As you can see, this image is of a JPG format, and Okay, doesn't give you any more specifications other than that this is a JPG format image. Okay, I'll just quickly. Okay, it says ki specify the base 64 encoding of the image or video to include inline the prompt and the uh, mime type, whatever. Okay, so it has some other specifications that you have to follow. For example, if your image is in a JPG format, it has to be converted into this specific encoding called base 64. Now you can click over this, and I encourage you to read over what base 64 encoding is and what this uh, mime or meme type field is. You can go over and read into this section and understand why we're trying to do this. Uh, I'm assuming it is because we are trying to optimize the storage that the image takes and not send like a bulk, a like really heavy image into the model. So I might be wrong, but I think that is a general thing. Okay, whatever. We are trying to send this API call, and then we've included this image object inside of this meme type field. Now, how are we including this? We added this another object, and then we specified a field called inline data, and inside of that, we added the data and this path of this image. Okay. Wait. You also you can see we've also added this authorization header inside of this curl request. Okay. Somebody had this issue, right? They said the command was not authorized. I think that you might have edited this line somewhere. You edited this space, or maybe I'm not sure. If you even edit this space here, it will throw you some error. So make sure there is a space between the bearer and this. This is a very sensitive string that you don't have to edit whenever you are making an API call. All right. Uh, just don't edit this section of this cell, or else it will throw you some weird errors. You can just run this. Okay, so this ran pretty successfully because it did not throw me any error, and it successfully returned me some response. It will probably be about what the image is, and let me go over and read this. It has a content, it has this role, and then parts. Okay, this part of the query, it was also there in the previous responses. We can go over and see what is new. Wait, what did we say? Okay, the text was, "Is this a cat?" And the response was yes. So this model is able to recognize images and convert that data into text. That is what we can see here. We generate text from an image on a cloud storage. Okay, let me try to understand what this is doing. This is a basic command that we've been doing all over. Okay, what it does is describe this. Okay, there was this command which is describe this image. You can guess what this model will respond with. And also we've included a file URI of some Google Clouds storage location somewhere. Okay, so what is different in this query and in the previous query is we've included this as a data object, right? And in this query, we are only specifying a location here. And see, we have this meme type, and then we've given it a path or a file name, and then we've specified file URI instead of specifying a data here. So as you can see, there was a data variable here. We changed it with the location of the image. So this is the location of the image that we changed it, and we also changed this file URI parameter. Okay, wait. Let me switch over. Okay, but Karishma is saying, can you repeat? So what part did I miss? Okay, Okay, for those people who have completed this lab, you can start the next lab or listen to the explanation that has been going on here. I'll try to quickly wrap up this lab. Okay, we can also send a video file, and as you've guessed, we sent the image in a certain specific format, right? We'll also have to follow this video format that the API accepts. I'll quickly run this command. Okay, the only difference is the meme type changed, and we've included this video slash MP4. In the previous request, we had it to assuming image slash PNG. Okay, so that was the type of the file that we're trying to upload. Yeah, so it responded back successfully. And let me go back and check whether my lab is completed or not. Okay, it says 30. Okay, fine. Okay, I'll quickly complete all of this. So this is a quick rundown of what we've done up till now. It says ki run function calling cell in the notebook. Okay, we can also note these things down so that we can explore this later when we build our own applications. I'll just note it down quickly. What we did was we sent a text response, text request. Okay. And inside of this text request, we sent two type of requests. The first one was only user requests, and the second one was user plus model. And how exactly did we do this? If you remember, we had these predefined variables called user and model that we included inside of this pull request. Okay. Now, upon reaching this, I'll show you guys something. I'll check my progress. Okay, it says ki please run this cell. I've already run this, but it says ki please run this. I'll wait for some minutes and try to rerun this. There might be some issues. Okay, so okay, now my this lab is completed. Okay, so Karishma says her lab is also done. All right, fine, Karishma. I'll show you something. In the beginning of this, in this video, I talked about this Postman, right? So Postman has this really good feature where you can write a request in like you can write a request in a really neat format so that you understand what each query is about, and you can also write queries in one language and convert it into another language. If I'm not wrong, I think we can try that in this section. Okay, I think it had some. Okay, so in the beginning I mentioned ki you can develop your application in Python or in JavaScript or in any other programming language of your choice, right? For example, if I'm developing a computer application, I might use Python or I might use JavaScript. I might use any programming language. For different programming languages, we have these different ways to access this API. For example, in this request, I used a JSON format, okay, to include these fields as a body, okay, for this request. Now I can convert the same into a curl request using this Postman. This is a really handy tool that you can use whenever you're developing your own application. This will come into like very use. Okay, suppose ki I'm writing a this API request, but I need a Dart code so that I can include it in my Flutter application. You can just quickly, okay, I'll show you what I did. I clicked on this code section, and then I clicked on this, and here I could find multiple programming languages in which this request is equivalent to this programming language call request. Okay. So for example, this is the native HTTP request that your browser sends. Okay. So if you're writing some code which uses this HTTP native code, you can directly include this. Let me try this with this call thing. Okay, so this is the curl request. Now I wanted to convert this into related requests. Okay, the request. Okay, I think I have to build this using. Yeah, I maybe. But I think I have to build it using this GUI that the Postman provided, and then you can convert it into any language agnostic request. Okay, I'm wrong here. Well, I'm not going to build it right now. I'll just do it later when we have time. For now, this lab is completed, and we can either move on and go the second lab of this session, or we can end the session with a quiz. Okay, I got error in 3 programs and I can't run it. Okay, so there might be some issues with respect to any of the cells. Uh, so if you are in the middle of executing it, I would recommend ki you messed it up somewhere along the line. Just try to close that lab and rerun it again. And also, there is one thing that most of you participants might face. Ki whenever you close this lab, it says ki there are there are only 5 attempts, and you cannot attempt this lab after those 5 attempts. You can always claim more attempts somewhere here. Okay, there's this chat support. If you click on this chat support option, and then you say ki, I've run out of my, say, I click on user query, I've run out of my 5 attempts, please provide me with more attempts. It'll see, it'll quickly give refill my credits and see. I'm not going to do it over my end, but I know this will work for you if you've run out of your lab credits.
Okay, so all right, Ryan, can you start the quiz?
Okay, wait. Give me a second. Let me.
Okay, mine, can you present the quiz?
Okay, Mudassir says he has some error where the code is 403. Okay, now this is another topic where you might not know this, but whenever you're trying to access an API, it has some specific codes that it can respond with. It has responded with a 403. So, okay, 403 code, it means something. It means ki there was an issue at the side of the user, means the user is not authenticated or something. So I'm assuming there was some issue with the lab that you entered. Okay, we'll be starting this quiz now. So I request most of the participants to join.
Hurry up, folks. आ जाओ जल्दी. Beginning lab आपला बाद में भी कर ले सकते हैं. जब quiz हो गया तो session will be over. There are over 30 people and 15 minutes time. The link is in the group. You can join. It is also in the chat box. You can directly click onto it and join.